did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. These are the greatest words on leadership that have ever been written. The greatest words on leadership that have ever been written. Be a servant. Don't think that everybody is going to do it for you. Some people would say, you know what, I'm a student. I worked at Burger King for 2 years. It's okay. I don't really have much to offer. Well, the last part of Nehemiah, his job, he says, I was the cupbearer to the king. Do you know what that is, the cupbearer to the king? Nehemiah was the guy that whenever somebody brought a drink to the king, had to taste it first, and the king would wait maybe 25 or 30 minutes, and if Nehemiah was still living, then the king would drink it. Could you imagine that job? You wake up, maybe Sunny D this morning. Nehemiah, try it. If you make it to lunch one week, that's pretty good. That's not a very good position to be in. Yeah, you're with the king, but you could die at any moment. Don't let your position determine how you're going to lead. Because really, it's not about your position. It's about your passion. Great leaders, great servants are passionate about something. Look at Jesus Christ. This was God in the flesh on earth. The guy could have done so many awesome, crazy things to enemies that came to him. He could have snapped and one of their legs would have flew off. And he could have just stood and just been like, yep, that's what I do. Do you want some more? Ears flying, all these different things. But time and time again, you see Jesus Christ as a servant to the people that he came in contact with. And he was the top dog. And again and again and again, he served. And he was very passionate about what he did. Don't ever let your position determine that. Let your passion drive the way that you serve and that you lead others. Third thing is this. Great leaders pray. Nehemiah 1, 4 through 11. Nehemiah is praying. Nehemiah 4, 4 through 5. Nehemiah is praying. Nehemiah 4, 9. Nehemiah is praying. Nehemiah 9, 5 through 38. Nehemiah is praying. The guy is always praying. And he had a good reason to. Because he had these two guys, Sanballat and Tobiah. I can't say it. Their job, to not let him build. They did not want him to build that wall. Okay? Sanballat was the governor. And no wall meant no people coming in. They couldn't do anything. And so to him, it was great. These stupid Israelite people were out of there. It was fine. And now they're coming back, so he's mad. And he's talking all this trash to Nehemiah, saying you're never going to be able to do it. And they start fixing gates. The first thing they start fixing is these gates on the walls. There's Valley Gate and Fountain Gate. And then, I really feel bad for the guy that had to repair the Dung Gate. The Dung Gate. That's like, hey, go work on the crap gate, okay? You do that one. And so they're making progress. They're doing all these things. The vision is coming together. Things are happening. And these guys are so upset at Nehemiah because things are happening. And they're threatening him, and they're saying they're going to kill him and all these things. And this is Nehemiah's response. Nehemiah 4:4. Listen to how he responds. Hear us, O our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. Give them over as plunder in the land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders. Now, a lot of times when people are coming at us, an easy thing to do is get really defensive, right? I have a huge problem with that, especially when I'm driving. I've admitted it here many, many times. Okay? And you know what? The other day I was driving home from church with my wife, and I put my turn signal on to turn, and I got in front of this guy. And for 5 minutes straight, he just flipped me off. 5 minutes. I was laughing at him. I pulled up next to him, and I looked at him, and he was flipping me off with both hands, one out of, I think, the sunroof, and one right here, and he's looking at me, and I'm just laughing at him. I was laughing as hard as I could because it was just, literally 5 minutes of flipping off to me. The dude was defensive about something. I don't know what the issue was. okay? In our story, these guys, it's not like they were like flipping Nehemiah off. They wanted to kill him because he was threatening all this stuff that they had going on. He's starting to rebuild the town, and it's not about building a gate. Yeah, he wanted a gate and he wanted walls and everything, but he wanted his people to be able to worship. That was the big picture of this. He wanted them to worship and to be able to do it in safety and freedom and not have to worry about these guys coming after him. And a big thing that he did was he prayed. In response to insult, in response to threats or harm, he prayed. He did. And if you're going to try to do it without prayer, y'all, it's like a bucket with a hole in it. You could sit there all day long with the best hose, the greenest, coolest hose, filling up that bucket, and it's still going to run right out the bottom. Prayer is something we're really, really good at talking about and really, really sucky at actually doing. And I'm guilty of that too. I do not have it all together. It's kind of like a spare tire in a car. When Lauren and I were dating, I was in Chicago and she was here, and I get this phone call, and I'm like, okay, this is weird, because we never talked, only at night, because I worked at night and she worked during the day, so we'd always talk at night. Well, I get this call in the afternoon, and hello, and all I hear is, but in the background I hear, gish, 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 gish. And I'm like, what is wrong? And she's like, my tire's flat. I mean, she was driving on the rim. I mean, because her dad didn't want her to stop where she was, so she was driving, and it's like, gish, 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 gish. And so I felt really bad. I couldn't do anything from Chicago, but she gets off. And really, you never think about a spare tire in your car. We just bought a new car. They showed us everything on it. They showed us the turn signals on the mirrors and all this cool stuff. They never take you and like plop you down and get you under the car to show you the spare tire, do they? No, because you just expect for it to be there and to work. Some you got the little mini tire, some you have a full size, but you just expect a spare to be there. And you'll never use a spare until you get a flat. And you just expect it to work. You never ever think about your spare tire until you get a flat. And some of us were like that with prayer. We never ever think about prayer until our life comes up flat or something happens or we're in trouble. We don't. If we're going to be honest, we just don't. And it's something we need to think about and to do. And Nehemiah is a great example. I mean, they were going to kill this brother. They were. And what he did was he prayed time and time and time again to God to help him and to save him. And God did. God honored that prayer. Great leaders are people who pray. The fourth thing is great leaders work for God and not for man, especially in the face of opposition. All right, these same guys, they're keeping on, and the pressure's there, and the pressure's there. Nehemiah 2:19. But when Sanballat, the Horonite, Tobiah, the Ammonite official, and the Geshem, the Arab, heard about it, they mocked and they ridiculed us. What is this that you are doing, they asked? Are you rebelling against the king? Look at verse 20. This is great. Nehemiah answered by saying, the God of heaven will give us success. Not because we have the right team, not because we have everybody on the right seat on the bus, or we're doing this, or we're doing that, or we got great lives. No. Bottom line, the God of heaven will give us success. Great leaders work for God, not for man. And yes, it's going to get hard. It's going to get hard.